are all here to see the star of the show, someone that is a very dear friend to me. It's funny being on this side because I'm used to hearing her present and give her introduction, but her name is Kathy Ulfi Slager, and is just a phenomenal person. Is a cybersecurity expert and has founded the TriangleNet. And I'm going to read a little bit about the TriangleNet and what that is all about. So, again, the TriangleNet, she founded this with the vision of a world where cybersecurity is embedded in society's educational and organizational practices, where social equality and meritocracy are the norm, and where all misfits are given an opportunity to reach their full potential. The primary and most urgent objective of the TriangleNet is to fight cybercrime as a collective movement that addresses the talent gap. Again, I can't say enough great things about Kathy. I have so many, I have so many examples of her giving of herself for greater causes and both financially and time and just in so many areas. So I know you're going to get a lot about her journey in cybersecurity, and we're all going to take a lot from this. So I give to you the journey into cybersecurity, forging a path to a fulfilling future.
Thank you so much, Derek. And newsflash, just a little fun fact is that Derek helped me co-produce the podcast called Journey into Cybersecurity. So he helped me develop the podcast in and of itself, my website, my digital strategy for the TriangleNet. So he's been a fantastic support to me as a partner, but also as a friend. By the way, he's also the president of Twins and Technology that I support. And during my day job, I'm a customer success manager at Agio. Agio provides managed IT and cybersecurity services. And I am basically the account manager managing the client relations with our cybersecurity or some of our cybersecurity customers. And obviously, I'm a proud member of the ISSA of Raleigh, and I'm a proud mom of two boys, 16, 18-year-old boys, and a dog called Dawson, who you will hear for sure. So, but enough about me. This is not about me. This is a tribute. I am sharing with you lessons learned from the 10 people, the 10 podcast guests. That was a mouthful. Who share their journey into cybersecurity with me. And this is really meant to kind of share to people who are curious about cybersecurity and don't know really what it is, or may consider it as a new career path. And that can be any age, right? To kind of see who is that person, who does cybersecurity, because there are different roles that people can play in the space. And I also want to kind of demystify what it really is. Sometimes we have these connotations, images in our head when we say cybersecurity, but it isn't easy, but it is also not rocket science. It isn't a competition. And I will share with you some pathways how to get into cybersecurity and how to forge your own path. And finally, to summarize is that, it's not a destination. It's about the journey, and it isn't a job. So here we go. And just so you know, I can't see the chat. I will check in once in a while in the chat, but feel free to put your questions in there, and Derek will help us out, make sure you get these answered. So who this cybersecurity person? And here they are, the unusual suspects. The fun thing about the 10 people that I interviewed was that none of them dreamt of becoming a cybersecurity whatever. And here are some beautiful faces of people who thought they were not going to be in cybersecurity. So Gina thought she would be a shark researcher, and Derek himself wanted to be an NBA player. And then Frances, she wanted to be an astronaut. Other guests wanted to be archaeologists, writers, and that is John, who wants to be an archaeologist, and Galen wanted to be a writer. And then Devin, he wanted to be a comedian and a lawyer all at the same time. So I'm going to pause here for a second, and I'm going to ask the people in the audience, what did you want to be when you were young? What was your dream? Pilot, astronaut, physical therapist, NBA player too, animal vet, large animal vet, correction. There's the shark researcher. Lotto winner. Oh, that's a good one. Naval aviator, baseball player. I love it. This is so cool. And just fun fact, I personally wanted to be a Broadway dancer. And I'm from Belgium, but I wanted to be a Broadway dancer. So I knew New York City was in my future. I just didn't know it was not on Broadway. Anywho, so let me go back to presenting my slides. Let's go. So humble beginnings aren't bad. Sometimes people think that a certain goal, a certain vision is not feasible. In the United States, where you grow up sometimes determines the quality of your education. In the formative years, your zip code may determine how good those first years go. But it does not have to be that way. Where you are born or you go to school does not have to determine if you are successful. You determine if you are successful. When I interviewed these 10 amazing, I call them the cyber hero squad, there are so many things that came out, and it was their humanity and their values that were so amazing to me and that I so wanted to share and stress the importance of values in your education, in your development. They call them soft skills, but these are qualities that you can build as a person. And Rob Martin's number one advice was to be kind. Devin's recommendation was to keep plugging away, persist, be patient. Gina spoke a lot about the importance of empathy. And then Alan exemplified what humility really is. And, gratitude, collaboration, humility, curiosity, and that can-do mindset, that positive attitude and strong work ethics, it all shined through. It was all common to all of them. It was just amazing. Also, even though when they go into cybersecurity, that may not have been the first job that they ever ventured into. So Robert Martin was a prison guard. And then he became a salesperson for Wells Fargo. And then he developed courses at Lenovo. And by the way, he wanted to be a judge. And, Nia, she joined the Army right after 9/11 because, she wanted to be part of the defense and the protection of our country. And, her motto was to dream big. And then Alan Nobles, he didn't have a plan to be in cybersecurity or technology at all. He was in the Air Force as a medical technician and also an EMT. He also became a bodybuilder, and he himself wanted to be the best surfer on the East Coast. Cybersecurity isn't easy. If you don't like challenges, then this may not be the job for you because it's a challenging world. We're faced with cybercrime. Cybersecurity is a flip side of cybercrime. And so you're going to be challenged for sure. And change is the constant in all of it. Adaptability and a growth mindset is a must. So if you don't like change, you don't like to be kept on your toes, and you don't like to dance the salsa, run. Now, a big challenge is to just break into cybersecurity. And it's sad that we talk in those terms. We call it breaking into cybersecurity. But here's the thing. We keep saying there's a talent gap. And I keep questioning on our conversations during our podcast. Is there really a talent gap? Because look at the cybercrime world. There's that growth of sophistication and volume of attacks, and there does not seem to be a resource constraint within cybercrime, right? And quite honestly, if you do some research, some of the cyber criminals that get caught are 17-year-old kids, and they started playing games and just trying to level up against their opponent in a game, and then all of a sudden they were DDoSing each other so that they could knock each other off their internet and win the game. But that's kind of how it started. But so basically the point that I'm making is that we can't be using the words talent gap anymore, because there isn't one, in my humble opinion. We have to look at the problem in a different way. We have to see it in terms of a process. Perhaps we can call it the supply chain, right? We're having supply chain issues all over the world. Cybersecurity, supply chain issues exist too. And the real difference between cybercrime and cybersecurity is that there are way too many barriers of entry into cybersecurity. There are none into cybercrime. Cybersecurity is like a Spartan race. And we have to find a way. We have to look at it this way, and we have to kind of challenge ourselves. Those who are in a position of recruiting and hiring, those who are in a position of educating, and those are in a position of joining the cybersecurity workforce. Just know that there are barriers, and sometimes we just have to kind of address them, speak about them, try to eliminate them or circumvent them. But as an outcome, as the reason why, this is why there are so many people who have this imposter syndrome in cybersecurity, because they keep running into those barriers, those walls. And let me kind of break it down in terms of what kind of barriers there are. First of all, there's bias. There's bias in this entire supply chain, whether it's in the educational system or in the workplace. And it's not necessarily conscious, right? It's not necessarily intentional, but it's there. And there's way too much of it. There's just not enough women in cybersecurity. And, women look at risk differently. Women bring certain perspectives to the table that other people may not have. And there are different types of diversity gaps. It's not just a gender thing. I think there are many other kinds of people who would find cybersecurity a very fun and fulfilling place if they were given an opportunity to learn and work there. There are people with Asperger's, ADHD. I think that they would have a skill set that some people don't, that would benefit the entire cybersecurity community. Then there's the fact that, if you look at a job description for an entry level or any kind of security job, really, very often it's just unrealistic. It's as if they're looking for unicorns. I was at a healthcare conference the other day, and I kind of compared it to saying, a nurse applies for a nursing position. She gets the job description of a cardiologist. That's kind of what cybersecurity professionals are up against. And human resources, they don't understand cybersecurity and all of the different certifications and what those acronym soups mean, right? They don't know what's involved in getting to the point where you get a CISSP. They don't realize that it is very difficult to get job experience in cybersecurity. So you can't be expecting 5 years of job experience when you're offering an entry-level analyst role to someone. So we kind of have to look at that particular part of the process very much so. And let's be clear, perfection is impossible. There is a massive tool propagation. You can't expect a cybersecurity professional to know all the tools or all of the ways that you can secure any kind of particular environment. Every client that I have is different. There's not one customer that has the same architecture, the same infrastructure, the same design. It's ridiculous to expect anyone to know it all. So let's just put that at the door. Perfection is impossible. And also, someone was making the point that entry-level jobs are becoming more automated. So they're creating more tool sets, processes to automate what are entry-level tasks. So, okay, fine, but you still have to be willing to educate the new employees, your new hires, on how to use those tools. So there's somewhere that a mindset and a process that needs to be developed where you're not just asking for something, but you're willing to give something in return, where you provide the necessary onboarding and training to use the tools and services that the organization would be using. So again, this is not a problem that is owned solely by the applicants. This is something that we own together, and we have to look at it as a process gap, not as a talent gap. So, it can be extremely intimidating, scary, overwhelming to go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I'm looking for my first cybersecurity job. And Galen had that problem. And she knocked on somebody's door nevertheless. And she kept knocking till somebody finally got her a job. But there was so much rejection that she faced. And very often did she not even get a response to her application. And there again, it would be so nice if you're going through the trouble of looking at someone's application, at the very least, reply to an applicant and let them know how they can learn a new skill or what it was that they can do to maybe come back for another time or a different kind of role. But the rejection could be a reason why people join cybercrime, because again, there's no barrier of entry. So we have to be mindful that rejection is us shooting ourselves in the foot. And at the end of the day, Galen's story is such a phenomenal one because she filled multiple different types of security analyst roles. She loves providing security awareness training, and she's recently been promoted in her current job. And note that she did start by attending the ISSA rally networking events. She volunteered there as well. And it was through participating in those networking events that she knew that was the place she wanted to be. She felt like she belonged to that community. And today, she's just killing it. She's breaking cybersecurity glass. Devon Carter's story is so amazing. And he too ran into these barriers. And his very first job that he applied to 13 times. And he finally got a job interview. And he got the job because he listened to the person who shared, at least, and he was kind enough to share why he was inviting him so he would stop applying for the job. But why he wasn't getting the job. And the reason why is because he was too educated. Believe it or not, he was too educated for that job, at least in the mind of this hiring manager. And what Devin did was, well, let me just learn. I won't be, you know, I won't, I'll stay humble. I'll just listen and I'll work hard. And that's how he got the job. He listened, but he did not give up. And today, you know, he's breaking boundaries in cybersecurity. He's got many acronyms to his last name. And the most recent addition is his JD. Hello. So he became an attorney not so long ago. He passed the bar and he is a patent attorney. So congrats to Devin. Mark Fitzner also hustled his way into cybersecurity. He was homeschooled all the way till high school. And then, you know, he lived in a rural area in South Carolina. But he went to the closest community college, just like his sister did. And, you know, did really well with his grades. And he was a little bit geeky already. And then he got a bachelor's in science while he was working full time, because he wouldn't be able to complete that. And that was at ECU that he went. And he has moved in from actually an audit role, security audit role, into a technical testing role. And he perfected that testing into red teaming. And now he's just keeping the bad guys out at many organizations. And he's an amazing person. Something that he also shared, I put that on the bottom of this prezo, is a comment about, you know, how did Will Wheaton respond as a child when people were bullying him for being a nerd. And so I recommend that you kind of watch that response, because it was heartwarming. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to beat the system. There is a way to beat the system. So here's how. First of all, you apply. And I'm not saying this facetiously. There's actually a statistic that says that women only apply to a job if they feel that they qualify for at least like 90% of the job description. So basically, women are not going to be applying to most jobs that are being posted for cybersecurity, because, you know, most of these job descriptions are just crazy, right? So apply. Nevertheless, don't take no for an answer. Keep knocking on those doors. Show how much you really want a job, and don't underestimate what you bring to the table in terms of your experience and your perspective, and highlight your unique strengths. And those can be outside of the skill or the knowledge that you may have gotten from a Security Plus, a CISSP, or things like that. There are other strengths that you can bring to the table that make you valuable. Your potential is limitless. There's a reason why you are at InfoSeCon. There's a reason why you are right here, right now, and you matter, and we need you in cybersecurity. So keep learning and know that there's nothing you cannot do. And you don't have to do it alone. Ask for help. This community is fantastic. I would not be where I am today without their support. So we've got your back. Now, let's demystify the idea that cybersecurity is rocket science, okay? You do not have to be a rocket scientist. You do not have to be a math wizard. You don't have to be a code guru or a tech genius to find a place in cybersecurity, to be fulfilled in cybersecurity. You know, it's easy to get overwhelmed when you start learning about cybersecurity, when you start that educational process. I know it's very overwhelming because you're talking about so many different things. Cybersecurity has many domains and subdomains and things like that. So you kind of have to break it down. So I'm going to here to help you with that. And so here are some ways to take that best next step. But the key is that you start. So what are your superpowers is the question. So Simon Sinek, he has a great TED Talk that says, start with why. And Simon Sinek says somewhere else, I love him, hire for attitude. The rest can be taught. And here's what superpowers are needed in cybersecurity. We need strategic thinkers. We need mindful leaders, people who have a moral compass, good communicators, negotiators, risk managers, listeners, optimists, mentors, analytical minds, connectors of the dots, pattern detectors, smooth operators of cool widgets, creativity, coachability, challenge lovers, eternal learners, and community builders. And guess what? These are descriptions of the 10 people that I interviewed. And we need more of them. Devon Carter really talks a lot about growth mindset. Derek talked about the can-do attitude. Just believing that you can do it is the first step to really get you started into cybersecurity. So here are some tools to kind of start that path, draw a plan up. Cyberseek. So I share a lot of URLs on this prezo, and you should be getting the prezo after this chat. So Cyberseek has a cool heat map that shows you all of the actual demand for cybersecurity professionals. It's so cool. And you'll see, and this was actually mentioned on the keynote this afternoon, North Carolina is one of the top 7 states with the highest amount of job openings in cybersecurity. So this map specifically said over 17,000 job openings listed in March of 2021. And this tool kind of shows you, the salaries, the credentials, and skill sets needed per role. So check it out. This also shows you how you can build a path, how you can start with in the entry-level column with a particular type of role, and how you can evolve to a mid-level and advanced role in cybersecurity. So kind of shares those data points, kind of a cool thing. And then you have different domains as well. And then the CISA, which has so many different resources, also has a similar cyber career pathway tool. Very interactive. So keep checking that out as well. And I built a website at TriangleNet.com. Please don't judge me. I'm not much of a coder, but it's got a lot of learning resources and everything I could find on trainings and certifications and degrees and scholarships, all of that jazz, whether they're, the YouTube presentations of Mike Myers or the CompTIA Security Plus videos by Mike Chappell, or online college degrees or in-person university degrees. Everything soup to nuts is kind of documented there. So this is why so many people get very confused and overwhelmed and where do we start? But you'll see kind of at the bottom is the entry level, and then you kind of move up, and then you have vertically the different domains. So you have security management, architecture, analysis, defensive ops, offensive ops, security engineering, and then you have subdomains. And obviously this will keep evolving. We talked this morning about how supply chains operate, right? And how there's that shared risk and how things keep being transferred to one another, and how cloud is evolving and machine learning and blockchain and all of that jazz. So that complexity is only going to increase the curriculum, basically, and the curriculum will evolve as you see. But you'll see at the bottom, the entry level, you see how Security Plus kind of crosses the multiple domains. So it's a good foundational thing to learn. And then kind of in the middle, you see that green bar where scripting language, programming, things like Python are important. And just a little plug is that Twins and Technology teaches kids how to code between the grades of 3rd and 7th grade. So it's kind of cool how we're trying to get STEM education to children earlier, again, to kind of address the diversity gap as well. So that's a really cool tool as well. And this is just an eyesore of a chart, but it's to kind of show that there is a tool set proliferation in cybersecurity. You just can't know it all. But there is something to be said about becoming an expert in something, right? So you may want to kind of look at what job postings there are locally and what are some of the common tools that are being asked to know, or that you would be using at some point. So maybe you can already do some research on YouTube or those particular vendors to see maybe they provide training or things like that. So start with the basics. Take that one first small step, and very often our friends that I interviewed, they recommended the Security Plus as well as the Network Plus certifications that CompTIA provides. Gives you a good fundamental view of the different domains, but then decide which one appeals the most to you, whether that's governance, compliance, risk management, whether you want to be a leader or you want to be more on the analytical side, whether you want to be a teacher. You know, so many people want to be teachers, and I think we need more teachers, right? Threat intelligence is a fantastic and booming space. Open source intelligence is part of that. Applications security is obviously soaring. Security operations is growing tremendously. Security architecture continues to be a challenge, definitely when you're adding layers of cloud and blockchain and machine learning stuff on top of that. But then also start to think about the industry, the kind of vertical you want to be part of, whether that's healthcare or in the public sector on the defense side, or you just want to be in a small startup or in finance, you name it. But start somewhere. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you'll have to adapt. You'll have to keep learning and just adapt to change. And just an FYI, at Agio, I am starting a study group with some sales and project managers, just to do the Security Plus. So, you're not alone, right? Think about building a study group. Find yourself a study buddy. So that's something. And hack your education. There's something to be said, and I think this morning our keynote speaker mentioned this, right? Not every person belongs in a 4-year college path, but they have the aptitude and the qualities that would benefit the cybersecurity world. They just do. So consider that your education is yours to be forged and is yours to be defined as you like it and as it fits you. I read a great book by Jim Quick. He has a podcast too. It's called Quick Brain, I think. It's with a K, Kwik. His book was called Limitless, and it teaches you how to study and to understand how your brain actually works so that you can work your brain. And it's so important before you even start the education of cybersecurity. So keep that in mind, that, how you learn best is the best way to learn cybersecurity. So is that in person, going to the ISSA presentations, networking events, or is that online learning? Do you like video, YouTube things? Do you like podcasts? Do you like to work with people in study groups? Or do you like capture the flag kind of competitions? There's so many ways that you can learn. You can combine all of these things, obviously. But there's not one way to learn about cybersecurity. North Carolina State University announced the boot camp, so that's kind of cool. I think it's a one-year thing. And then there are valuable, amazing scholarships available. I have a friend who was able to benefit from the Sun's Women's Scholarship and found a fantastic cybersecurity consulting job recently, thanks to that. And community colleges have now associate degrees that end up getting you your certification for the Security Plus as kind of as a completion thing that you do at the end. So that's really cool. It's a good way to start. Like that, you don't have to invest a boatload of money, and you can kind of see if this is something that you like. And definitely consider getting your education to some degree and then maybe start working. And maybe you can find an employer who has a tuition reimbursement process in place. Because I was at Verizon, they had a tuition reimbursement program, and thanks to them, I got my MBA. And yeah, there's so many resources. My website over there has some of those listed. And by the way, I still love a good book. Sandworm by Andy Green is probably my favorite. And also today, the keynote kind of mentioned that. The movie Dune just came out. So if you like that movie, I highly recommend reading Sandworm. But other people recommended some of these other books that I'm sharing right now. And I have another listing on the website, just so you know. All right. Today's chat, preso by Diane Genosek, really made an important point that cybersecurity isn't a competition. It's a team sport. We are in this together. So you can't compare it to like a video game where you have to prove how much better you are than someone else. It's about beating the bad guys derrière, excuse my French, out of our personal and professional space, protecting everything that we are taking for granted. That's what it is about. So how do we work as a team in cybersecurity? You know, the fun thing is that all the people that I interviewed always mentioned some way or another that they didn't make it alone. Nobody makes it alone in cybersecurity. And I definitely am a testament of that as well. And keep in mind that diversity creates innovation. You want to look at all these challenges and problems that we face from different perspectives. So bring in diverse perspectives. And that's why your perspective matters. Also, with privilege comes responsibility. It is so important to paying it forward as a volunteer, as a mentor, as a teacher. And you would be surprised how your perspective, your experience may help someone else sooner than later. Yeah, leave your ego at the door. It's about us. We're together, and it's and together we can and will make our society so much more resilient. Here's some good examples as to the roles security people play and how collaborative that role can be. The CISO plays such an important role. They're kind of like a mediator. They make cybersecurity and risk management an integral part of the business strategy in collaboration with the business leaders. They have to translate bits and bytes and all the alphabet soup acronyms into English and make it about the bottom line, the customer experience, the operational resiliency of an organization. A SOC analyst has to do the same kind of thing, but they have to provide the guidance to the incident response team on how to respond to what threat, how. So very critical on how they provide that guidance. Pen testers help IT teams strengthen their security controls. Security architects work with the physical security team on a layered defense in-depth strategy. And human resource leaders play such a critical role at driving early adoption of security best practices across the organization. So here are some pathways into cybersecurity. So you got your education. Now what? How do you break into the workplace? So here's the one fact. Your path is unique. You are the author of your story. But start with why. Why do you want to join the Cyber Hero Squad? Why do you want to be in cybersecurity? So consider your strength, not just the knowledge that you got from a certification. Really dig deep as to, what are some of your personal strengths and the things that you've already acquired as a young person or a not so young person. And what are you super interested in, like really super interested in? And where and when do you like to work? Like some people like to work at night. I'm more of a night owl than others. If you don't like to work long days or weekends and things along those lines, maybe a SOC analyst is not it, right? But those are the kind of questions you need to ask yourselves. What is my lifestyle? What stage of my life am I in? And what role do I see myself play as a result, right? How does this fit in the rest of my life? Alan kind of mentioned this on his podcast. He said, find a balance between work and your life. There are other things to do, right? But also the where part. Do you want to work out of the comfort of your couch, or do you like to travel? Do you like to be around people? That kind of thing, right? That determines where you can see yourself. But then also ask yourself the most important question: what impact do you want to make? So how do you get your way into the workplace? Find yourself a mentor. Mentorship matters. And if you're in a position of, if you already are a professional or even a student, it doesn't really matter. You can be a mentor too, right? So consider yourself offering your services as a mentor. Nia Lucky, she shared that she intentionally determined who she wanted to have as a mentor. And she reached out to that person through LinkedIn. She didn't have a personal connection with that person. Nevertheless, she built that connection with her. There are some great organizations, and the ISSA, by the way, has amazing mentors. So you don't have to look far. But some organizations are also promoting mentorship in and of themselves. Black Cybersecurity Association, Cybersecurity Mentoring Hub, and the Women in Cybersecurity Mentorship Program, are some amazing ways where you can find people who you may have shared interests with. And I also put that on my website. And then again, don't discount your work experience. There are many ways you can get work experience. Like I mentioned with Galen, she started volunteering at the ISSA. She's building those connections with people because at the end of the day, it's a people business. Internships are so critical. So everybody wants work experience, but you also have to be willing to provide internships so that someone can say, well, I have work experience as an intern. And very often an internship, like for Frances, can lead to your first job. That's how Frances got her first job at Cisco. So be on the lookout for internships. Ask for them. Knock on doors. Be relentless. Student jobs cannot be underestimated. There's so many life skills you can build in student jobs, not to mention some of the people skills can be developed as a student. So start early. I also recommend job shadowing, or just interviewing different types of professionals to kind of see what they like about their job and so forth. And I loved Armando, his Missy Dreamport presentation this morning because he stressed the importance about apprenticeships. So I think we all kind of carry a responsibility to make those more available. Cybersecurity is not a destination. It is a journey. We talk about change. Well, your role will change, your title will change, what you do will change on a daily basis. And what it's always about with the guests on my podcast was it's about the growth, it's about the learning, it's about the helping. And here are some pictures that I shared on my social media when I launched their podcast. John Sternstein, he was a natural born hacker. He was one of the few who really had a knack for computers and saw himself in the IT space for sure. And he already hacked his own education. He tried wireless hacking when wireless hacking wasn't even a thing yet. So he defines himself as a hacker, although remember, he wanted to be an archaeologist. And then he became a founder. He is a teacher, a volunteer, an employer, a mentor. He's just a superstar. You all know Gina, and if you don't, you should watch her presentation that she gave yesterday on comparing cybersecurity to a game of poker. I call her a cheerleader in cybersecurity because she has that positive energy. She's always helping someone. She's always supporting someone, cheering them on their journey. But her journey itself is such a remarkable story. Going from shark research to political science to legal investigations. And now she's just killing it as a virtual CISO, a cybersecurity consultant. She's a fantastic keynote speaker on all topics cyber. She masters incident response. And she's also a master in cybersecurity in making, in the sense that she's actually pursuing a master's degree in cybersecurity. So she's just a superstar. And this is Frances Baldwin. I worked with her when she was running the Cybersecurity Operations Center at Agio. Her story is so inspiring because she was from Puerto Rico. She started by going to engineering workshops in high school. It was a special field trip to, I think it was Texas, to some college in Texas to kind of share with other, it was all for girls, with other women who were studying engineering to kind of see what that looked and felt like. And she got a bachelor's and a master's in electrical engineering. And you could literally count the amount of women that were completing a master's in electrical engineering at that time. So it's quite phenomenal. And like I mentioned, her Cisco internships turned into her first job at Cisco. And right now she's, although she wanted to be an astronaut, she's in the cloud. She's working the AWS cloud. And again, she's just fantastic. And here's Derek Thompson. I call him a trailblazer for good because his generosity has no boundaries. He started as a high school entrepreneur. He founded multiple organizations. Obviously, he's running the TNT Creative Group, who helped me, develop this podcast, develop the TriangleNet's digital marketing strategy. But this platform, he's using that to promote other good causes, whether that's ISSA, Tweens in Technology, but also helping people who are homeless or children and people with autism. We love Derek. Neo's story is just fantastic. She went from going in the military to starting multiple cybersecurity nonprofits here in North Carolina. One is the ISSA in Fayetteville and Fort Bragg. One is the Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu in Eastern Carolina. And she developed a partnership with the Fayetteville Technical Community College. I think that's what it's called, to develop an associate's degree in high school. So she's helping vets, she's helping women break into cybersecurity. She's fantastic, and she worked at Cisco, but she's now in a management position at another company. And then Devon, he, continues to break boundaries in cybersecurity from the high school, football field, and all kinds of other fields, because he was an athletic rock star back then, to connecting Navy ships, leading security architects in finance today, but also presiding over the largest ISSA chapter in the United States, hosting the best cybersecurity conference of the world, and passing the bar, becoming a patent attorney. And he's not even halfway done. I don't know how he does it, but what an honor to speak with him and share his story. And finally, cybersecurity is just not a job. It's not a job, it's a purpose. These people, they are paying it forward tenfold. They are mentoring, they're teaching, they're volunteering every free minute that they have. They're organizing, collaborating, they're engaging with us, they're empowering everyone, and they're hiring. And you too can find your purpose. But it's helping other people that is at the core of what all these cyber heroes have in common. It's that need to teach, to pay it forward. And that is why ISSA's Raleigh chapter is so successful. And the members are successful as well, because they're finding fulfilling careers in cybersecurity thanks to these members, these leaders in that field. And it's the sense of community, a sense of belonging that keeps them going, that gets them up early in the morning, keeps them up late at night, including right now on a Friday afternoon. So with that said, it's up to you now, and you can start right now. Here are some resources for your convenience. And I want to just say a special thanks to the ISSA community, the amazing guests of my podcast, and my colleagues at Agio, and of course, Derek, Thompson, and the TNT Creative Group for their support. I would not be who I am, where I am, without any of them. So again, thank you. And to kind of finalize this as a little, if you stuck with me till now, I've got a little surprise. Let me share this with you. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm sharing a book. So if you're interested, you want to keep digging, you want to go into cybersecurity and learn a bit more on how to do that, this is a great book. This is called Cybersecurity Career Master Plan. It's written by multiple people, but Dr. Gerald Auger has a great YouTube channel too. And he has an initiative called Cyber, I forgot what it was, something with cyber. So email me, and the first 3 people get a free book. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. That was phenomenal. Round of applause, please. Clap in the chat. Kathy, you've done a phenomenal job of just telling the stories of so many people. And one of the things that's so great about it is that I know we can all identify with everyone. I feel there are pieces that we can, but just the amount of time that you take to prepare, I know firsthand for those interviews. You don't just get in front of the camera and start asking questions. I mean, you take hours upon hours upon hours to research and really get the best out of us. I feel that there are really life journals that showcase exactly how everyone has made it. So I encourage everyone to go check out the podcast. You'll get a lot of great insight out of it. And you're just building a tremendous resource. And you can tell that you're putting your all into it. This is not something, again, that you're just slapping together. You're putting everything into it. So it shows. So we just thank you for that.